There are many complicated equations that I cannot solve just using inverse operations. In particular, if your variable, for example in this equation x, shows up more than one time in your equation, you can't just trace through what's happening to x and solve in reverse order. You cannot just solve using inverse operations. If your variable shows up more than one time in your equation, you first need to simplify both the left-hand side and the right-hand side before you solve using inverse operations. When I simplify, I first use the distributive property and then I combine like terms. So when I'm faced with a more complicated equation, I need to simplify the left-hand side and then simplify the right-hand side. After I've done that, I can move the variable term and then usually add or subtract and then multiply or divide. There's an acronym that can help me remember this order: distributive property, combine like terms, move the variable, add, subtract, multiply, divide. And this is an acronym you may have learned in Challenge 7, Dcmam. Dcmam we remember as don't call me after midnight. Don't call me after midnight helps me remember that I use the distributive property, then I combine like terms, and then I move the variable. After that point, I have a two-step equation, and hopefully you don't need that after midnight. You know how to solve a two-step equation. So the important part here is the don't call me. Remember, don't call me. Distributive property, combine like terms, and then move the variable. All right, let's go ahead and do that. So you're simplifying the left-hand side and the right-hand side. Simplifying the left-hand side, distributive property first. 2 times x, and then 2 times -3 is 2x minus 6 minus 3x. That's my first step in simplifying the left-hand side. For the right-hand side, I also need to first use the distributive property. So not 8 minus 4, no, distributive property. -4 times x, and then -4 times -1 is plus 4. I've now used the distributive property on both the left-hand and the right-hand side. Next, I need to combine like terms. 2x minus 3x is -x. -x minus 6 is my left-hand side simplified. Right-hand side, the like terms that I need to combine are 8 and 4. That gives me -4x plus 12. I have now simplified the left-hand side and I've simplified the right-hand side. Distributive property, combine like terms. Now I need to move the variable term. My two choices are to add x to both sides or to add 4x to both sides. Of course, I'm never just going to magically move them. No, I'm going to justify my work by either adding 4x to both sides or adding x to both sides. I prefer positive coefficients, so I'm going to choose to add 4x. 4x minus x leaves me with 3x minus 6 equals -4x plus 12 plus 4x is just 12. Now I have a two-step equation, so hopefully I don't need this after midnight part to help me remember that my first inverse operation is to add 6 to both sides of my equation. 3x minus 6 plus 6 is just 3x, and then 12 plus 6 is 18. My last step is to undo that times 3 and divide both sides of my equation by 3. 3x divided by 3 is just x, and 18 divided by 3 is just 6. That is my solution to this equation, x equals 6. If I plug 6 in for each of these x's, I will get a true statement.